Today we're going to be talking about Him, a highly anticipated movie by many, probably for the wrong reasons, but we'll get to that. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I have been dragging my feet to film this review. I saw an early screening of it. I could have filmed this like immediately after, but I didn't. I don't know why that is. And I think part of it is I've been doing so many individual movie reviews lately, like back to back to back to back, because we have Strangers Chapter 2 next week. It's just not stopping. I'm just constantly doing movie reviews right now, and that's just sometimes how the season is, right? But it also could be the fact I'm just not excited to really talk about this movie much. Now, the reason why I say it was probably for the wrong reasons is because if you were anything like me or other people, you probably thought this movie was directed by Jordan Peele for a really long time, or at least that's what you were led to believe. And it's not like they did misleading marketing by any means. I think I was just thinking Jordan Peele's attached to it. I don't know. I don't know why I really thought Jordan Peele directed this for a long time. And to be honest, my excitement for the movie dwindled a little bit when I realized he was only a producer on the movie. But I know I'm not the only one, because multiple reviews, horrible movie, Jordan Peele's worst one yet, wasn't his movie. Movie is garbage, waste of money. Jordan Peele is terrible, not his movie. So I'm not the only one. And I was also skeptical of this type of horror movie, and I was excited that it was something different and something unique. I mean, a sports horror movie isn't really a subgenre that's been explored that much. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm also not into sports like at all. So I was nervous this would not be a movie for me, and I still don't believe it's a movie for me. I still kept an open mind though as I watched it and tried to view it objectively. And also, you know, I'm always honest with you, and I'm going to share my like honest opinions about the movie. Now I'm rocking my glasses today. As you know, these are my favorite pair that I own in my collection for many reasons, but especially because of this. I mean, if this isn't the coolest reason why these would be my favorites, I don't know what would be. So a huge thank you to Pair Eyewear for sponsoring today's video. These are in fact my daily glasses I wear every single day. And we'll get to the top frames in a minute, but Pair Eyewear has glasses for everyone, women, children, men. They have 18 base frames to choose from. I have the black Soto frames, which I think fit my face perfectly, but they have a lot of cool other designs and different colors as well. And then of course they have over 400 different top frames to choose from that are just magnetic and they click right on. One of the things that makes Pair Eyewear one of my favorite brands for glasses is the fact that they are so much more affordable than traditional glasses. The base frames start at $60 and each top frame starts around $25, which I think is just so affordable. And I have a pair of designer glasses, and let me tell you, I don't wear them. I wear these ones every day. I do have so many top frames in my collection now. These are probably my most worn top frames. These are the silver sun tops, which I absolutely love. I have sun tops in pretty much every bag. I have a pair in my car just chilling, so when I'm in the car I can snap them on and drive. If you wear prescription glasses, you know the pain of wanting to wear sunglasses as well and having to like switch them off your face, damage the frames. You just never know. So I love that you can just click these on. But they have so many different fun frames as well if you want to change up your look or your style to go with your outfit maybe. These are so cool. These are the celestial purple top frames. And then I have the citrine yellow ones. These ones are so fun. I love these. I really need to wear these more. But the sun tops are usually my favorite. I have these in multiple colors as well. So make sure to click the link in my description down below or scan my QR code here on the screen and use my code PossessedbyHorror15 to get 15% off your first frames at Pair Eyewear. So the first thing I want to discuss about this movie is the reception. I'll have timestamps down below if you just don't care and you want to hear my own personal thoughts about it, but I want to talk about the reception of this movie and the reviews and the critic scores coming out about it. I just don't agree. As of filming this video, the Rotten Tomatoes score sits at 26% for critics and 58% from audiences. That is as of today, September 21st, okay? Now I understand a lot of the criticism, but I do not think it was that bad. Like, guys, Come on. But that being said, I feel like this is one of those movies that is just pretty straightforward for me and I don't have a lot of thoughts about. I'm not like super excited to talk about it or, you know, delve into the story and things like that. A lot of times I'm really excited to talk about movies. This isn't really one of them. I liked this movie though. I enjoyed my viewing experience, like entertainment wise. I thought it was very entertaining. So I don't really agree with the ratings that have come out. Obviously, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. And these are just mine, okay? So for those of you who want to know my opinion, as usual, I'll get into the things I liked, things I didn't like, and a couple spoilers. I feel like there's not too much to really delve into with this movie, but we'll do a little bit, you know? Cameron Cade is a rising quarterback who suffers a potentially career-ending injury after being attacked by an unhinged fan. Just when all seems lost, Cam receives a lifeline when his hero, Isaiah White, offers to train him at an isolated compound. However, as the training accelerates, Isaiah's charisma turns into something darker, sending Cam down a disorienting rabbit hole that may cost him more than he ever bargained for. So the first thing that I noted and what I enjoyed about this movie was the horror, actually. I wasn't sure what to expect with a sports horror movie because I assumed, given that this is football and sports, it was going to be leaning a little bit more towards body horror. And just given the trailer, I feel like the marketing showed way too much, but maybe a little ritualistic, witchcraft even, culty, demonic. I didn't know what direction it was going to go in, but something like that, possibly supernatural in a way, head trauma for sure because it's football naturally. But I was pleasantly surprised by the amount of like variety of horror that was in this. Like there were some creepy moments that really worked for me and that were very unsettling. So I give an applause for that because I was not expecting a lot of the horror elements in this to be that good, to be honest. I thought it was just going to be like body horror and I thought it was just going to be creepy, but it actually was a little scary at times. A couple jump scares that were a little bit obnoxious, I would say. It was just a little bit too much. But given that I wasn't expecting much for the horror in this movie, I was pleasantly surprised and I was happy with it. I liked the chapters element in this, how each day kind of had a different title and a different theme going on and how we just gradually built up that tension. It just gradually gets weirder and more horrifying, as any horror movie should, right? But it was effective for me. I feel like the way that they did the chapters and like introduced each day, I kind of liked that. I think overall the best part about this movie that I think everyone can really agree on, even the reviewers and the people who didn't like the movie overall, was the performances. They were fantastic. Okay, Tyreek Withers and Marlon Wayans were incredible in this movie. Marlon Wayans, I would say, had the better performance because I think he had more like range of like what was going on with his character, and like I really liked the level of like humor that still came through, very much like a Jordan Peele movie has a little bit of humor in there. It still had that element, so that's kind of where you can see not only Jordan Peele's touch possibly, but Marlon Wayans being the comedian that he is. I like that we still got a little bit of that humor in there and it was genuinely funny at times, but then it had the spectrum of emotions that he had to go through. Okay, so that was very impressive for his character. I feel like they were really able to portray both their roles really believably. I thought Julia Fox too. I mean, she's kind of, I don't mean this in a negative way, but she is kind of like one note with the kind of characters that she plays. And I don't hate it because the characters that she plays in movies are dead on. Like they are so good and like only she can play those roles, if that makes sense. So those are like the standout things that I really enjoyed about the movie. The whole movie was good in my opinion. Like it was well executed. I thought it was beautiful. I really liked the setting of Marlon Wayans' character's house. I thought that was really beautiful and just nice to look at, you know, and definitely a good horror backdrop for the things that were going on in this movie. So all of that was really effective, I feel like. Just generally effective movie where it falls a little apart. And the first thing we're going to get into what I disliked about it was the story. And I think that's where we all also have a consensus that it was a little bit on the weaker side. I don't want to say that I disliked the story completely, because I think it had really good bones there and I think it had good potential, but it just ended up being and feeling very shallow, and like there wasn't too much explored. There were themes throughout that were just like hammered home and a little bit over explained as well, and predictable. And the story just was a little bit predictable. I think honestly they could have fixed all of that and maybe people's expectations if they marketed this movie differently. If they marketed, this was their chance. This is like one of the first like sports horror movies. They could have marketed this as some like sports thriller movie, action movie, and then blindsided them with it being a horror movie. That would have been really fun. I don't think any movie company would ever do that. Might be a little bit problematic to surprise people with a horror movie who don't want one, but I wish they could have gotten away with that, because I think that would have been really fun for the audiences to be surprised. Like, this is actually going to be pretty horrific and scary. Although it was predictable, I do want to say I think the tension was still really well maintained throughout the scenes, just like the individual scenes of what was happening. Not so much like the overall arching story, because I think we kind of knew what was going on and what the outcome would most likely be, but like each individual scene and each day we get a lot of tension there. So I still feel like that was pretty well maintained despite us knowing probably what's gonna happen in the end. That was pretty much the only thing that stood out to me that I didn't like. But again, this is one of those movies that is very straightforward and is just fine. Like it's a good movie, but it's not anything special to me, which is saying a lot because it is a new kind of genre, something we haven't seen a lot of before with it being sports horror. So I wanted it to feel a little bit more unique, but it ended up feeling like a bunch of other movies in a way, given the content and the type of horror actually that was happening. The story also wasn't like that unique. So you'd think that all these elements put together would make for a unique story, but it just wasn't. It just wasn't that impressive. I still think it was a good movie and it's worth watching. I just don't know if it's worth watching like in a theater. I think this would be a fine movie to watch at home, you know? But everything about it was good. It was good. I give it 3 out of 5. It's a solid movie. I will say it will probably be a little bit forgettable for me when looking back at this year as a whole. I don't think him is going to be like a standout of the year, and it's definitely not going to be my favorite movie of the year. It's fine. It's good. Go watch it, form your own opinions, of course, and don't always listen to the critics because we all like different things. Now, I did want to talk about Marlon Wayne's statement that he made, because he makes a really good point, and this is in regards to the negative criticisms that he's been getting about this movie. He says, "Just to be clear, I respect critics. Their job is to critique. I respect their work. It shapes our industry. But an opinion does not always mean it's everyone's opinion. Some movies are ahead of the curve. Innovation is not always embraced, and art is to be interpreted, and it's subjective. I've had a career of making classic movies that weren't critically received, and those movies went on to be classics." So I really appreciate that, and I really agree with that, and I'm glad he's taking it well, because all of his movies were not rated very well on Rotten Tomatoes, but they are, of course, classics. White Chicks, Scary Movie, things like that. So I fully agree. Don't always listen to everyone's opinion, including my own. Make sure you form your own thoughts and your own opinions about movies, and don't always, unless you have like a reviewer that you really trust because you have the exact same taste in movies, maybe you could trust their opinion, but like ultimately just make the choice for yourself. I really don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be. I think you should watch it for the performances alone, the score, the setting, it's beautiful, the horror is good, like all of that is really decent. So I don't want the story to just like ruin it for everybody, because it was a well-made movie. So I wanted to read a couple of the reviews specifically from audiences on Rotten Tomatoes, the negative ones. We lost the red light, it died, that's okay. This review says, "No plot and it was just horrible." See, I disagree with that. I disagree with the comment of it having no plot, because it does. It's just a weaker one, okay? It's just a basic kind of story. And then these two reviews are basically the same. Terrible movie, boring and bland, boring, too slow, fell asleep. I saw so many reviews talking about how boring it was and how they were fighting off sleep and they wanted to walk out and all that kind of stuff. I really don't think this is a boring movie at all. I have seen plenty of boring movies, even just this year. This is not one of them. This movie, I feel like the pacing is really good. And I don't even like sports. I didn't understand some of the football discussion that they were talking about. So again, I disagree that it's a boring movie. I found a lot of entertainment value in this movie, actually. Was very, very excited for this movie for a while. Nothing about it stuck out to me. The acting and cinematography were both decent, but the writing and story were beyond terrible. This review I kind of agree with more. I understand that the build up and the beginning of the movie is really good, and that's probably the strongest part until the climax, which then it kind of falls apart. I didn't hate the climax, but we'll get into that a little bit more in spoilers in a minute. But I agree with nothing about it stuck out to me. It didn't feel that special, and the acting and cinematography were decent, definitely. I don't believe the writing and story were beyond terrible. That's a little bit hyperbolic, you know, that's a lot. I thought it was fine. Weaker than other movies this year, and definitely the weakest part of this movie, him, but you know, it's okay. This is one of those movies where the acting outdoes the movie itself. Marlon and Tyreek were great, but this one missed the mark for me, unfortunately. And this one I definitely agree with as well. The acting is definitely the best part of this movie. What did I just watch? Worst movie of 2025. Acting wasn't bad at all, but the plot and everything else about the movie just didn't do it for me. See, even the people who think this is the worst movie of the year still agree that the acting was good. So I think we all agree on that, which I think is great. We should. But highly disagree that it's the worst movie of 2025. I mean, Strangers Chapter 2 hasn't even come out yet. So we don't know. So I think the disconnect between like my opinion and others is they just feel more strongly about it than I do. I just don't feel that strongly about it either way. It's just like in the middle for me. And I still think it had a lot of redeeming qualities. So given all of that, let's talk a little bit about spoilers. Not too much, because I just don't really, I'm not passionate about it. I don't really have much to say about the spoilers, but I will be getting into a little bit of the ending now. If you have not watched it and you want to, don't watch the rest of this video. So the ending was kind of predictable, although I did like the direction it went. I do feel like the story itself and like the motives and the cause of things, there were definite like plot holes a little bit, and honestly a little bit confusing, because we have the cult that passes down the blood of the previous stars, these quarterback stars. Okay, you inject the blood of each of them, so it just continues throughout all of the quarterbacks. And then at one point, Marlon Wayne's character White wants to steal Cam's youth, and then Cam ends up killing him, so now he's the next in line in this cult and has to like sign this contract away. And it's like the owners of the football team are on it. Julia Fox's character is in on it, even his agent. Like, it's all been set up and done for him, right? And I don't know how it's still basic of a storyline and yet confusing at the same time. I really don't understand that dynamic, but that's how I would describe it. It's like nothing really impactful about that kind of story. Like, it's very expected, I think, in a movie like this, and we have a lot of hints along the way. Even in the trailers, too much is shown that we know it's a cult. We know. But yet it's also a little bit confusing how it all plays out in the end, and like why things happen and what is going on. I still took it all at face value and had a good time with it. I wasn't trying to overthink anything. It was just, I just thought, okay, it's straightforward. It's a cult, and Cam decides he doesn't want to be in it, so he kills everyone. And I liked the high body count in this movie. I think that's another thing that it has going for it, that no one's really mentioning it, maybe because it's just expected in a horror movie to have a high body count, but that is not always the case, as we know. So I appreciate that this movie does take it to that level and give us a high body count in the end. And I understand the messaging here and like the toxic masculinity and the pressure to be the best ever, and the pressure even from your family family and society, and even if that's not really what you want or it's asking too much of you, you have to accept that and just keep pushing through. I understand that messaging, but again, I feel like the way it's portrayed in this is just a little bit on the shallow side. Also, it doesn't really resonate with me on a personal level, so obviously it's just not going to be as effective of a story for me personally, and there's just no way to do that. This movie is not marketed for me. I'm just not the target audience for a movie like this, but I still had a good time. I see the intent there, and I still enjoyed my time watching this movie. I just think not everything needs to be A24. You know, not everything needs to be like this super elevated story and like symbolic, and maybe it attempted to do so a little bit, but it doesn't need to land necessarily to be an entertaining movie. I think it's still entertaining at the end of the day. So those are really all my thoughts. That's really all I have to say about the movie Him. It's nothing really to write home about, but I don't think it's that bad. If you have any interest in watching it, just go see it. Just watch it for yourself. And if you have seen it, make sure to leave a comment down below and let me know your thoughts. And if you can expand on if you did not like it, why necessarily, because I could not find a lot of reviews who really went into specifics as to why they hated this movie so much, just that it was boring or poor story. So if you have any specifics you want to get into in the comments, please do. I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.